So, welcome everyone to Chain Trades with TraderLink, and today we're going to be doing a market overview, basically going over all the commentary from today, why it worked out, things that we could have potentially done better, but in all honesty, we fucking nailed it today. Next thing is we're going to get into a little bit about Vanna. All right, let's get fucking started. We got a killer day today. So starting off in the morning, 6:32, sent out the vol reversion levels. Obviously, we only teetered with one of them today, or actually two of them, sorry. So two of the levels today. So support one and support two, 52.99 spot 94 and 52.85 spot 26, right? Those were the two reversion levels from today. And other things that I had pointed out in the morning from this screenshot. So 5300 ABS DGEX, right? Where is that from? Let's copy this image, paste it here so that we can draw it on it. Right, so let's go over how I got these, right? So 5300 ABS DGEX, that's this one right here. Largest exposure on the split chart for D-adjusted gamma exposure, right? Or delta adjusted. 53.25 and 30 top of range. Why did I pick that one initially? At first I had seen this one here and this one here. So obviously Raw was kind of exposing 2025 range. So that made me a little bit hesitant on taking shorts at 53.10, but you'll see later on what I saw to go short at 53.10 instead, right? 5300 low range, obviously, right here. That was it. And then 5305, 5300 raw gex flip right here, right? IB skew is steeper going to the right, and obviously that's from this over here, right? So number one, that's my first thought process to why it would be harder to push up. Obviously, we talked about that a couple times already. But since it was steeper to the right on the chart, that suggests that, remember, right? The analogy is pushing a rock up a steeper hill is going to be much tougher. So in concept, making this or pushing the stock upwards is going to be a lot tougher than letting it slide down, right? So Vanna flip also up at 53.25. So initially it was up to here, right? As you can tell right here. And it started dropping. So that's well, I think I go over that in the commentary as well. Patience today, I'm thinking 25, 20, 30 is the highest probability short, and 95 is the highest probability long, so long as IB skew steepens out to the left. Right. What I mean by that is obviously we can see right here, it's relatively flat, so it's going to be easier. So that's why when we first initially get to 5300, right here, careful for longs. We have some interest below 5300 today on raw gex. Now sent at 746. So once again, this was the narrative in terms of getting lower today, right? On top of that, with an IB skew being relatively flat in comparison to the downside, right? And this is what I said, personally not taking any longs at 5,300 goes against my loyalty to shorts. They could work, but just not very comfortable taking longs at this price in general. So once again, my bias is my bias, and this is something that I learned from Gio in the very beginning. Never fucking switch up. Right. I'm not gonna go if I come into the day thinking that we're gonna go lower, I'm not gonna be looking for anything for longs, right? I'm not gonna spend the time coming up with some analysis for longs. I'm looking for opportunities on shorts, right? Yeah, that's just how I trade. Obviously, longs could have definitely worked, and they definitely worked today, right? There's this pop up from what 5,300 vol reversion S1 and ABS DGEX back up to what you get 12 points maybe. Say you manage to really catch it at the bottom, then you manage to get it all the way up to the top at 12 points. Congratulations. That move took fucking forever, and your contracts, if you picked out the money, got shit on. So either way, not a huge fan of that, right? So we waited for the opportunity to go short. As I said, would much rather short this level at 25, 20 to 25 to hit. If I miss a short ODT, I miss it, I'm not going to trip over it, right? Keep in mind, it didn't actually hit 2025, but obviously you'll see what I start talking about, that 53.10 level, right? Solid area for trims or exits. Shorts on shorts, right? So let's say you manage to catch this point. It's still relatively early in the morning. What time is this? 7:03. So literally right, these are 15-minute candles. So 6:30/45, 6:45 to 7. right? So when we got near the bottom, that's when I signaled these are probably a high probability area to get out of shorts. Why? And this was the image. All right, so let's go over that image really quick. Image is way too large. Copy image. Copy link. Does that work? It's an ass photo, but let's just go over it. Right. So we had marked out certain levels, right? So 5,300, as you can tell, is right here. Can I fucking make this smaller? Jesus Christ. Okay, we'll just do it like that for now, right? And then we had SMT at the lows. Why? Right here and right here. Obviously, ES had taken out the low right here, NQ didn't. So that was definitely a good area to get trims on or go long. Once again, I'm not taking longs, right? So I'm still waiting for the opportunity to take shorts. Does that make sense so far still? So ABS DGEX is pretty clear in terms of the split chart, and this is at 718. So let's open up Liquidosis thing. And then we can go to that time. So right around this time is when I was saying ABS DGEX is pretty clear, right? So this is where I point out Vanna flip has lowered from 5,300 to 05. Also have another Vanna flip above. Also have another Vanna flip below us at 85.90. Okay. Trade idea. If SPX can retest 5310 raw GEX flip, IV curve flattens out to the left and steepens to the right, I wouldn't mind taking shorts at that level. Need to watch to make sure these things happen in order to get in though. All right, so that was set at 718. And look at the IV skew here, right? Steep on the left side now, right? So making it ideal to not take shorts until that curve flattens out, right? And obviously to the upside, it's much easier to push, let that rock roll, right? Or push that rock. So keep in mind, these are just the little things that we've been watching throughout the day. And then right at 7:35, that's when I start, what time is this now? 7:35, right here. Right. IB skew is also steeper on the right side. And we have SMT at these relative highs, right? So that's when I started loading in on shorts. Let's see. Yeah. Once again, Gex flip is right here, 5305, 5310. And then the IV skew is flattened out on the left side. So as soon as we get to that 5310 area, that's when I start loading up. And that's right about, let me find that SMT. Okay, I have those all marked out. Nice. I didn't erase them. Right. Let's get to smaller time frames. So this was the that second one right here, and this was the original one that I was talking about. As you can tell, right here and right here, right? Timing wise, oh sorry, right here. I don't. 2 minutes. There we go. I was like, why is it going in between? Previous day. Here we go. Right. So NQ had taken out that high around here. And then I said ES took it. Trims here. Why? Once again, that image was sent. ES took out those relative lows, and NQ didn't on the left side. So another SMT at 5310 right now. 5310 right now. Watch 5 15-minute closes for above or below, and that was signaled at 7:51. Let's flip this to a 2-minute as well. 7:51. So right here. So we added at that short. Once again, another SMT at these highs at 801. NQ took it out, ES didn't, and that's this one right here. Once again, led to a nice drop, and we got trims. These were all the scalps that I had basically been taking. So how I traded today was a little bit different than how I normally do. So I had about 10 contracts of SPY in the money contracts, right? And the difference was what I was doing, I was getting, I would trim 5 and leave the other half. And as soon as we would continue to push higher, because I had really strong confidence that we were going to go below 5,300 today, as said in the very beginning of the day, right? So what I would do is I would always be in around 10 contracts. Anytime we ticked lower and the contracts went up about 15 to 20%, I would trim half and get back down to five. And every single high that got made, I'd add five more. Right. So I was continuously taking profit on some, averaging down, taking profit, averaging down. I did that for about 5 times before the last 5 contracts finally caught some wind on this drop here. Right. So as I said, lots of scalping opportunities today. Everyone, I still want to move below 5,300 personally. We'll be holding light positions for that potential. Below 52.88, I see us picking up some violence to the downside if we get there, right? That was the main one. That below 5,300, it just made sense to go lower, right? And then there was this also drawn out in the earlier today. Another confluence for shorts at that 53.10 level worked out very cleanly. So everything overall worked out today. The problem is that we didn't get that move till much later in the day, which you'll see as I talked about in the chat. As soon as we crack and make lower lows, we're coming for that 5,300 level, right? That was set at 816. So right around here. And as you can tell, obviously, we're not making lower lows at all. We're just continuously pushing up on this trend line, right? So until we crack and make lower lows, and you'll see why this line is here on the 5 minute, I'll flip to it. That's that previous low that I'd been basically just waiting for. So at 852, still no reason for me to look for longs or stop out of my runners. Not a single 5 minute close above 53.10. You'll see later that we did, but once again, still had the main confidence that we'd hit 5,300 and go lower. If we do, then I'll look to close out runners for a light loss. Could see 25. Raw GX is showing levels, that level of interest. On top, VIX is falling, right? So if you look at VIX on a bigger time frame, there was a skip today, right here. Price had made this little gap, and we had finally decided to come down to it, and that's where we started getting this bounce. Right. So that in my head, that's also the other reason as to why I think VIX the problem is like with VIX, when you think and look at VIX, VIX doesn't give a fuck about gaps. I hope you guys know that. So do not base plays upon VIX gaps. Keep in mind, VIX is a calculation, right? It truly, in my opinion, from my experience, does not give a fuck about gaps that are made. So just something to take into account. But this was just interesting to see since VIX did get that big gap up. Obviously, I'm waiting for it to come down a little bit lower before making that move. So skew seems to be holding steeper above spot. So if we do get that move up, I have a feeling it'll be a staircase up. If you don't have any position, I suggest sitting on hands today as it isn't favorable to be holding anything. And as you can tell, this is what the chart looked like, right? To the upside. If you'd gone out the money contracts on SPX, dicked, right? Clapped, cooked, whatever synonym you want, right? You would have been bad, in my opinion, on this, because that was such a slow move up for only what, 10, 11, 12 points. Shits to Snorefest, teetering at 53.10, snap these higher lows, and we fucking die. 5,300 end of day. That's when I was like, hold on, butterfly potential here, right? I'm sure a lot of people, some people ran butterflies. I know Leandro did. I think that was the person. Anyways, at 9:23, need to close below 23.75 on the 5 minute for an overall structure shift. Okay. This is where things get interesting and why I had that line there and why I was watching that 5 minute, right? Why did I have that line there? It was the previous low, right? And someone said I forget who said in chat, but someone said in chat, we're finally making lower lows. But I always say I wait for candle closures. I don't like seeing wicks like this. To me, this does not count as a lower low. I want to close below on certain time frames, right? I don't like seeing these wicks. So if I'm watching on a 5 minute, I want a 5 minute close below. That's just my personal opinion. However, you like to trade higher highs or higher lows. Personally, this just works for me, right? And it helps you with better confirmation. Once we get that change, we'll see lower. But for now, it's still holding intact overall slow uptrend. I don't see it break just yet because the timing just isn't there given the lunch hour, right? So this is probably the first time I've brought up timing of trades. But you always hear me say back then on stream, if I'm streaming longer than 9 o'clock, it's probably because I'm bag holding a position, right? And more specifically, the reason why timing is so important is because that lunch hour has no volume. How do you expect a big downside without what do you call it? Volume, right? Markets work in a way where uptrends are always going to be on lower volume and downtrends are going to be higher volume. That's just how it works. You'll never see high volume on an uptrend, but you'll always see violent volume on a downtrend, right? That's just how it works. If you don't believe me, take a look for yourself. Once again, I've been walking people through, still no closes below. Then you see me getting a little frustrated. If I can send out the GIF. Next one, 958. What did I say? So right at 958, right? It's all about timing. Right around 10 a.m., look what happened. We got that big, massive candle down. Timing of trades is super, super important. Usually by 9 o'clock, if you're in puts and you're bag holding, I expect nothing other than a very, very slow push up. That's just my opinion. Anyone who understands this, that just means drill, like drill the shit down, obviously. Winner's going to win, long as bagged as expected. Me trying to be funny again, longs bagged, data on top, sub 5,300, like I said, at 1051. And we finally got that sub 5,300 move. Then I said lower. I know there were some people probably looking for longs when we got below 5,300, but remember that image in the morning. Look at where the level is. 5280 and 5285. Right? So why am I looking for only 5 points sub 5,300? Especially if the data shows interest ever since the morning that 5280 and 5285 are key levels of interest for the day. Look at where we bounced on SPX. Draw a zone from 85 to 80. Right? 5285, 5280. We got that bounce perfectly. Once again, right? Yes, it's negative exposure. Yes, we can go through it as an accelerant, right? But remember this, the same reason as to those other days, if you go back and scroll through the commentary, where I don't talk about seeing sub 5,300, and the only day that I talked about it is when we had interest below us. If there's no interest below 5,280, why are we looking lower? Right? The objective was tagged for the day at 5280, 5285 zone, right? And you'll see, where else? We go back. Drill the shit down. I think my last exit, did I say anything? All out here at 1139 for me personally. Caught the entire move down from 5310 down to 5281, right? So if it had gone lower, so be it. But we had reached the target that I had in mind to a T, almost pretty much to a fucking T, right? So once again, take your wins. Did you say puts usually don't print after 12 p.m. EST? Yes, you're not going to find much on puts, in my opinion, around 12 p.m. PST, which is 9 a.m. my time. Yeah. So during that lunch hour of the market, obviously volume is going to be lower. So yeah, usually I like trading from 6:30 to about 8:30. I usually try to fuck off from the markets around 9 a.m. my time, so PST, because of that low volume, right? Especially if I'm looking for shorts, then I have no reason to fucking look at the market, especially if I know there's going to be low volume and market trends tends to go up on low volume, right? That's just how it is. So after I said lower, why was I expecting lower? Because once again, we had those interest levels at 5285 and 5280, right? And I said 5288 or a riot, and we finally got it. Tagged, no right necessary. And then once again, right here, what time is this sent? 11:35. At vol reversion S2, hit trims if you haven't. And when we finally reached the objective for the day, that's when I decided to call it, right? SPX, vol reversion S2, right? Right at 5285. So it just made sense to bounce at that 85-80 zone. Once again, with vol reversion S2 and having that no interest pickups below. So I hope everything kind of makes sense. I walked people through the market all the way from 6:30 all the way till 12. So And I said I'm getting more comfortable with executions as of late. Yes, a lot of runners got stopped out at break even, but continue to play safe and smart with good sizing stops at break even after the trims. The time will come when those runners hit like today, right? So keep in mind the entirety of the day had been scalps, right? Remember, as I was saying, I had been sizing in with 5 to 10 contracts. Every time we ticked down, I would hit a trim. Every time we got up and made a new higher high or SMT happened at a high, I would add. And once again, tick down, trim, 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 leaf five, leaf five. And finally, when I'd taken the SMT trim add here, we got this move down. I hit a trim, but guess what? I had gotten such a good entry that these never came back to break even. I literally hit it at probably, I think the contract low was 180 at the time, and I got it at 184, right? And they never went back up to break even here. Why? Because once again, I picked the right contracts. I'm picking in the money, right? I'm not dealing with theta. They don't have any theta burn. They don't have any IV drops or IV burn, right? So those runners finally hit, and I'd been targeting sub 5300, so I finally got it, and I was holding, and I got stopped out on the rest here, but right, you'll see. Where did I say it? I have my contracts, and they're relatively deep. I have time on my contracts, and they're relatively deep in the money. So even when I got stopped out here for stops in profit, which was different than the break even stops, I have I had 5 other contracts of further expirations out because I had a feeling we would get lower still. So once again, those finally paid off from holding throughout the entirety of the day. No ads, no nothing. I think the lowest they were down was 8%. But I did plan on swinging those, but we got that move down so aggressively. I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna close these out. And once again, my problem with the entirety of the day was this fucking stock right here. This shit, it just still keeps going up. You cannot stop Nvidia as of late, right? So I don't like that NES is continuously going down, but Nvidia was going up. So when we finally got lower, I was like, I said to our OGs, I'm all out of ODTE, but I have what do you call it? June 7th expiring puts. So if we get that move down, I will still catch it. Just with further expirations. And they went like 30-40%. I think it was like my entry was 5.54. They went as high as like 7.4, 7.3, some shit like that. But my final exit was 11:40 a.m. So does the market overview kind of help when I coincide it with going over the commentary from today? And plus, yeah, the commentary people have been loving, and I enjoy it a lot more than streaming because I don't have to talk. Plus, when I'm streaming, so many questions come in that I lose track of what I need to be paying close attention to. Right. And I think maybe traders feel differently, but I personally, I just can't stream and trade. Every time I stream and trade, I get absolutely zapped out my fucking mind. Because I'm busy looking at questions, looking at the chat and during this, I'm not even looking at anyone talking. I'm just focusing on my analysis, hoping that I give the best. I was away from 9 to 12 and allows you to review how you do. Yeah, I think that's the best part too. You don't have to go back and watch a video. You can kind of and like play it side by side. Plus on video on stream, I miss things because I'm busy answering questions. So with this, I'm like full-fledged fucking focus mode. Like it's hard for me to miss the stuff that's showing on the dashboard when I'm looking at the charts and not having to answer questions. Yeah, I trade way better off stream. I can't fucking streaming and trading. Anyone who does it, good on them. I can't. I hate answering questions like while I'm trading because I can't focus. But at least now, like people can actually see what I actually pay attention to or how I'm trading intraday. Yeah, if I stream, then I would just pretty much like close chat. Like I'm not even gonna look, and it would be boring because I wouldn't be talking. I'd just be fucking sitting there. And obviously, I don't fucking sit here and talk to myself. I just send out the commentary. Personally, not a fucking psychopath like Gio who talks to himself. Crazy. Couldn't be me. Totally joking. That's not shade. That's a joke. Um, but now let's get into Vanna, right? Everyone was wondering. Oh, actually, let's go over the few things. Um, let's see. Text. So Gex flip, D adjusted, Gex flip, Vanna flip. What else did I have here? I think that's pretty much it. So like these, when I send these out in the morning, my suggestion to people is mark a zone, mark a line, whatever you want to fucking do, but mark it on your chart. Why? Because these are going to be areas of basically you can utilize them as support and resistance. That's essentially what they are, or what they end up acting like on a chart, right? There's no point in me explaining all the fucking nonsensical bullshit about what it does to a portfolio, but on a chart, you'll see it. It gets utilized as support and resistance, right? So when you see me sending out, okay, 5300 ABS DGEX, right? Mark it on your chart. ABS DGEX will be a magnet, right? DGEX flip will act like support and resistance. ROGEX flip will act like support and resistance. Is ABS DGEX a strong magnet and small positive GEX bars, even if the ABS DGEX is negative? Yes. ABS DGEX will always is like this one, right? Remember on the exposure on the split chart, it's the largest one. It is the largest one with the most exposure. I don't care what it looks like on split. I'm paying solely attention when I say ABS DGEX, that is the largest exposure on the split chart, right? And that's really about it. And that ABS DGEX is a magnet, right? We've talked about this many times for everyone, anyone who's new. ABS DGEX is a fucking magnet, right? De-adjusted, all the flips are going to act like support and resistance. I hope that makes sense. That's as simple as it can get, and that's how I want to teach people to keep it simple, right? That is what it acts like on a chart, and that is what you need to utilize it on a trading perspective. Understand going into the back end of like understanding what it does to a portfolio is not necessary to utilize it for trading. It's great to understand, but you might overcomplicate it in your own head and get fucking confused. So it's not necessary to know those things, right? I'm teaching you how to trade. It's not necessary to learn all the back end of things, right? Keep it simple, keep it stupid, keep it to where it's understandable. So support and resistance when I type these things out. Mark them on your chart, mark them as areas of interest for the market and whatnot. But as you can tell, this was my chart. I didn't have anything else today because it just, if I had marked everything, it'd look fucking something like this. Like, okay, 25 to 20 zone. Next one is 05 to 5300. Then you had another one at like 52, 90, 95. Right. So it just looked too messy. And at a certain point, I'd like to keep my shit clean. Right. I can't when it gets too busy. What are the yellow and blue lines? Oh, one is VWAP, one is the 9 EMA. Do we need to buy calls or puts if price goes above VWAP? No, look, VWAP is, I have it on my chart as sort of a trim. I'm never utilizing VWAP for entries ever. Yeah, today the problem is with every bit of data that was there, it just got messy. And even for me, when I was looking at it, I was like, I can't fucking have it with these zones. I just have my level at 5310, and that's going to be it. So I actually want to get to the point. Excuse me. Ow, that fucking hurt. Uh, all right. So these yellow lines right here, one is ABS DGEX. That one I always, 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 always mark on my chart. No fucking matter what, ABS DGEX is on my fucking chart. That is the one that I will always have on my fucking chart, and that is the one that everyone should have on their chart. Why? Because it is going to be the fucking magnet for the day. It is going to be the most interesting area for the day on the market. Right? The next yellow lines are all the vol reversions that I sent out. Not all of them, just ones that are relatively close. But so vol reversion, I always have R1, R1, S1. Why? Because you're going to open up in between those, right? And S1, obviously tap right here. If I get rid of ABS DGEX, you'll see vol reversion S1 tapped. And we pushed up. That's basically why I told people to hit trims if they managed to get in shorts at the open. Me personally, I've been trying to stay away from opening trades. Why? Because I want the data to clear up and I want a bigger move. You're never going to get the big move at the open. Why? Because volatility is so strikingly high that it's just going to fucking pop in whatever direction it wants. So I like waiting a little bit for it to clear up before taking a true analysis to the data. Where can we find ABS DGX based on the data? It's going to be the largest one on the chart, right? Like this. Take your gamma exposure module, you change it to D-adjusted, right? This one right here, delta adjusted gamma exposure. How do you do it? You click this little settings icon, and then you go the gear icon, and then you change it to delta adjusted. So like right here, delta adjusted. All right. Oh, that's the one that you're going to want to find ABS DGEX. How? How? Very simple. Very simple. What is the largest one on this chart? What looks like which one has the biggest bars? As simple as that. Which one has the biggest bars? It's going to be 5,300, right? Some of them are close, like this one right here at 5,320, but it's still not the absolute delta adjusted gamma exposure. It is still not ABS DKEX. Why? Because it's not the largest. It's a fucking pissing contest. Which one's the biggest? 5,300. That's all I care about. That is going to be the most important one that I always, 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 always have marked on my chart. That one is a fucking must have on my chart. What's the rough math on vol reversion? I can't disclose that because obviously it's proprietary coding to how we have it. How often does ABS DGEX change intraday? It doesn't usually change, but you'll notice when it becomes solvent. What do I mean by solvent? Obviously, you've been here pretty much for every single class, Bree, so you know what I mean by solvent. It means basically when it disappears. Usually, when it disappears is when the objective it's been tagged maybe once. It not usually off. It can disappear and become solvent when it gets tagged, and today wasn't that. It wasn't the case. It did get smaller when we were lower towards the end of the day before the rally back up, right? As you can tell. Remember, when I talk about interest, right? You have no interest below, right? On both gamma exposure modules, right? But guess what you have? 5,300 right here. So you could, if you had caught the short, like Fatty did, you could have put 25% of your profits, 10% of your profits into longs. Where? Right here at 52.80 and 85 zone. Why? Because there's no interest below and you have interest above. So the odds that if there's going to be a direction, obviously it's 50-50. Do we go lower or do we go higher? You have two choices, right? My money is going to be put on, if I were to take a play, which I'm not going to, because why? I never fucking switch up. I don't care if it's a lotto. I also don't like trading during power hour. That's not my jazz, right? But if I were a betting man, I would put money towards calls at 52.80 versus puts at 52.80. Why? Because there is no interest below us at below 52.80, but there's still interest above us at 5,300, above 52.80, right? So that's when that's why Fatty went long. That's why a lot of people went long at 52.80. Right? I don't know who else did, but I know there's a good amount of people who put money on longs. Dad went long at 52.80 up to 5,300, and he caught like 400% or 300%, 0.55 to like 2.3. So if you're a betting person, you like taking lottos, this is a perfect example of when to take a lotto. Or if you're going to take one, this is a perfect example of like what you would want to see. No interest below, interest above. Vice versa, right? If we're here and there's still interest below and you caught money on puts, great. Roll up, take a lotto. I don't know, do what you want. Right? And this isn't here. And then you have something that looks like this at like 52.50. Then yeah, you could be a betting man or woman. But me personally, I caught my objective. 30 fucking point move down. All right. So let's talk about, oh, we're 35 minutes in. Let's talk about Vanna anyway. What is Vanna, right? It is the rate of change of volatility with respect to the underlying asset, right? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I remember off the top of my head. Is the rate of change of volatility with respect to the underlying. Maybe it affects delta. I think it affects delta. Where's my fucking education? I don't remember these definitions by heart. Vanna measures the sensitivity of an options delta to changes in both underlying assets price and implied volatility. Okay, so it's the rate, it's the sensitivity of the delta with respect to volatility and the underlying price, not the rate of change of volatility. There we go. Close but no cigar. But that's what it is, right? Now, let's talk about how to utilize it. Because all that shit's great. Understanding the fucking definition or knowing the definition is great. But how the fuck does it help you with trading, right? Let's get into that. That's the important part here, right? We're here to trade. We're here to make money. So how the fuck can I utilize it to actually trade, right? Let's get into the volatility or the curve of Vanna. Who remembers when I talked about the gamma curve? Can you guys say it in chat? Who remembers the gamma curve? Bell curve. Perfect, right? When it comes to thank you, Edward. When it comes to gamma, this is what it looks like. Gamma's impact is highest where? At the money, right? This is the curve. When it comes to Vanna, it is different. This is what Vanna looks like. Like this, right? This is where spot price is. This is where Vanna's impact is most important, around these areas, right? Now let's get into, this is where it gets confusing. Once again, not entirely necessary to understand, but also really helpful in terms of potentially bottom or top ticking the market. So it gets complicated. So please bear with me here. When you're looking at Vanna, the first step that I suggest everyone do is look for the biggest strikes, right? That are relative. Keep in mind that are relative. If the big strike is like this, and it's at fucking 5,050, that's not relative. It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect the market. So when does Vanna affect the market? It affects it when the strike of the exposure and the strike price of that option has a 0.2 or a 0.8 delta. Vice versa, minus 0.2, minus 0.8, right? Actually, this is plus because it's above. This is minus. So what do I mean by this? So let's say, for example, we're sitting at 5,300. 53. Wow, that looks autistic. 5,300. Sorry. And this is 5,325 strike price, right? And this is 5,275. 5,275, right? These are the strikes, and let's imagine that they look somewhat like this. Why is it getting so hot in my house, bro? It looks something like this, right? You get some bullshit like this, and then whatever, something like this, something like this, something like this. And then these are the two largest exposures, right? If those two are the largest, and let's say their deltas are at 0.2 and minus 0.2, or minus 8.8 and positive 0.8, right? That's when their impact on the market will come in at its highest point. But you need to understand that it needs to be a big exposure bar, or else it doesn't matter if the deltas are at 0.2 or 0.8, right? It has to be a big exposure bar. So after identifying which big exposure bars are, you take a look at the deltas of the put or call. Obviously, if it's above spot price, you're going to look at out the money, and the deltas are going to be 0.2 minus 0.2, positive 0.2, right? If you're going to look at puts and they're in the money, since it's above spot, right? Then they're going to be 0.8. So pick whichever side. If it's above spot, my suggestion is look at calls. If it's below spot, look at puts and look for the 0.2 minus 0.2. That's my suggestion. I don't like looking at for the 0.8s. 0.2 is just easier. If it's above spot, once again, as a reminder, above spot price equals look at call delta to find the delta of fuck. If it's above spot price, look at call options of that strike price and see if the delta is a positive 2. If it is below spot price on that strike that has the high exposure, look for the puts on that strike and then look at the delta of said put and see if it's minus 0.2. Then you'll see, then you'll know that Vanna's impact is going to come into effect. Now, the follow-up is, what even is Vanna's impact, right? Is everyone here with me so far? Is this simple enough of an explanation on a very complicated process? I need to make sure. Somewhat okay. You're gonna have to go back and rewatch this. This one is something specifically that you will not be able to. I can guarantee you will not be able to learn in a day. You're gonna have to rewatch this, and you're gonna have to be like, okay, write it down, etc., to make sure you understand it. It's something that needs to be studied. Delta, this is not delta. This side stuff is not delta. Keep in mind, this is not delta. This is the amount of exposure. You need to go on your broker and look at the 0.2 minus 0.2 of the strike, right? It's as easy as going onto your mobile TOS and then going to the SPX options chain, like I'm doing it right now. So open up TOS, open up SPX, click options, and then go to the strike price and hold down the ask or the bid, whichever side, and then you'll see it. And then it'll pop up with all the Greeks. It'll tell you the delta, the gamma, the theta, the vega, right? You'll see delta right there. Yeah, just to clarify, this is not the delta. This is the amount of exposure at that level. Okay. Getting into or continuing. So once you have found those, this is where it gets extra complicated, even more complicated than you would fucking think. Once again, this is why this cannot be taught in a day. My suggestion is this is a great video still or a great recording, but go to TraderLink's YouTube. This is something that you're going to want to rewatch. You could rewatch this class or you can rewatch the effects of Vanna exposure class 3. This one right here, right? This is a good one to rewatch. I just posted the link in chat. So go back, watch that one. It's going to be very helpful. That one's clear. It's all about Vanna. So you don't have to skip to the market or skip through the market overview. Right. But continuing forward, this is where things get slightly more complicated because it is what it is. Boom. Copy image, post. Everyone's probably like, what the fuck is this? Let's get into it. Right. When Vanna is negative below spot price, right, you're going to have negative below, negative above, positive above. Don't even fuck off, Alejandro. Anyways, negative below, you're going to have 4 different potential options, right? Whether it's positive below, positive above, negative above, right? Something like this. We'll use this as an example, right? So 53.50 is what? It is negative above spot price, right? Where spot price, it's this gray line on the chart. So it is 53.50 Vanna. Once again, we pick the highest strike or exposure, right? That's relative to where we are. And then we identify. Think of it like a stair step or like counting it, right? How about a screenshot so I can mark this up? So in this case, we've identified that it is negative above. So we now can limit it to just this section, right? Now, what is IV doing? There are many ways to track IV. My suggestion is to utilize VIX, right? Once again, this gets complicated. So if I lose you, please just say it in chat and I will try to clarify, because this is, once again, a relatively complicated process, right? I use this very, very occasionally. The only reason I say very, very occasionally is because I've been trying my best to simplify trading for even myself, because once again, overcomplication is just not necessary, right? So I use this occasionally when I cannot identify a high or a low or the top or the bottom of the range on the market. This is my next go-to, right? So on to the next. We have identified it is negative above spot price. Now, what is IV doing? So you can track VIX, right? Once again, you can chart VIX and try to make assumptions about it, right? So we go to VIX and you try to chart VIX. You can identify potentially what VIX will do with TA, right? Is VIX going to bounce here? Is VIX going to drop here, right? And that will determine whether or not IV is going to increase or decrease, right? So if VIX is going to bounce, what does that suggest? If we've been pulling down on the market, right? That means VIX is pushing up, right? Just vice versa, very simple, because they inverse each other. So if market is going down and VIX is going up, what is IV doing? It is increasing, right? But at a certain point, if you're trying to identify the bottom, what is IV doing, right? Where can it go from this point? Okay, if I think VIX is we've been pushing up, market is falling, and I'm trying to identify a bottom, I'm looking for VIX to reject, right? So that IV can start decreasing, and we may potentially get even more of a sell program, right? Because this will identify what dealers need to do as their hedge. Are they going to continuously sell this down? Or are they going to continuously bid? Or are they going to start bidding this back up? Right? Once again, I apologize if this is complicated. It's not necessary in order to trade with it. But this is just one of the ways that I personally trade with it. And once again, I only teach what I utilize and and there's no point in teaching extra shit. This is just how I utilize it. Vanna Flip has been a bigger usage to me, more so than utilizing this method, right? When it comes to Vanna Flip, it can potentially, if you're sitting, let's say, like right here, hold on, let's take a look. Let's say Vanna Flip, we're currently sitting at Vanna Flip at 53.05, 53.10. When it comes to Vanna, let's say flip is higher above us and we're going through, it looks something like this. Give me blue. So this is spot price. Vanna's like this, Vanna's like this, Vanna's like this, Vanna's like this. Right, and we finally flip negative here. Let's say this is 53.25. Right. This area of Vanna Flip can potentially also act like a magnet. Vanna Flip's still good in window of weakness. I personally, during window of weakness, so post OPEX week, I don't ever watch Vanna. I don't ever watch anything but Gamma. Personal, that's just me, right? Simple, stupid. Simple, stupid. That's just my personal. But yeah, Vanna Flip can potentially act like a pull, or if especially if it's higher above us, and you see other supporting data that we will go up, right? Supporting data would look like a big bar at the same time as AOI or ABS DGEX like right at the Vanna Flip. Then you can potentially long it up to there. That's probably like the next best bet. Yeah, Vanna Flip today was pretty spot on today. Like it was at 53.20.25, and as soon as it came down to 53.05, 53.10, that's when I was like, okay, we're probably not going to push up higher alongside with a skew. But this is I don't like it because I've been working so hard on figuring out like simple ways to trade, and I've been taught this in a very long time, like this specific way of utilizing it. So it's definitely complicated. My suggestion is if it doesn't make sense to you today, I'd go back and watch, and you want to understand it. Once again, not completely necessary, but if it's just something you want to understand, this video is going to help you a lot more than what I'm teaching now because you can rewatch it over and over again. You're not trying to pick at everything. But once again, this video did really damn well. Super helpful. So, and these are like about the only comments that we get on any of these. But that's my suggestion because this stuff it's complicated, but once again, not necessary in order to trade with Vanna. It does work though. I will say I fucking sniped bottoms identifying the point 0.2 deltas, whether or not IB is going up or down. I've absolutely fucking sniped bottoms and tops with this method. It works, but it works best during OPEX week. So that's as much as I'm going to give now because we've been on for quite some time. And we'll get into more of it on, or we'll redo this section. Maybe I'm thinking I'm going to structure Thursday's class with no overview and just sort of a Q&A and a rerun of what Vanna is. How does that sound? I just have a feeling like these market overviews are helping more so than the classes from that we used to basically structure our live sessions with. I think the overviews are helping a lot more people because they're utilizing actual commentary, actual data reading and whatnot. What do you guys think? You guys let me know. If you guys like the old class style, then we can continue doing it. But I think these sessions of doing market overviews with the live, like the commentary, are much more helpful, right? And if once again, I'm still waiting for the day that I miss in that commentary channel. I already know somebody's gonna fucking give me shit. That's just how the world works. I like the old class style for broader knowledge gain. Okay, good to know. Good to know. We'll do that on Thursday. We'll do that on Thursday. Are there recordings of older pattern classes? Yes. This like if you go to our YouTube, I've said this multiple times, but once again, I love reiterating it once again because number one, it gives us views. Number two, it's really good. Like these are fucking good classes, man. Like these are good classes. Like I look back at some of the classes that I ran. Like if you want some crazy ass classes, go to fucking deep dive into gamma exposure or like rewatch the first gamma exposure class. Like I loved those classes. Like those were fucking bangers, bro. A lot of these got fucking doxed though, which is really annoying. I'm gonna check if they're still like uploaded or did they just get moved to private. Content. Because I hosted December classes. Are they just not here? Am I tripping? Instruction no, instruction gamma and Vanna. What is this one? I don't even remember this one. Maybe I need to rewatch these so I can. No, these are too old. No. Sort of footprint. Gamma exposure basics class 1. Was that in December? Yeah. Okay. Hold on. December. What the fuck? I don't know why some of these got unlisted. Like some of these were like our highest views and they got unlisted. Public. Publish. Like why are some of these unlisted? Sorry guys. I want to make sure like these classes people can see and go back. Public, public, public. Public, 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 unlisted, unlisted. Like, why are they unlisted? Was it not? Sorry, 1 second while I look to make sure all the classes that are fucking good are listed. Okay, they should all be there. Is there a video to identify positive or negative environment for the day, daily bias? Thank you, Monkey. These reviews. Nice. DOI updated, not showing. It should show by tomorrow morning. Yeah, fucking Alejandro's gonna rain down on me the day I miss. Bro, all the OGs know I've been on fucking fire the past fucking like 2 weeks or so. So they're all just like motherfucker Alejandro is just waiting for me to miss so he can just give me shit for it. I already know it. But it's all play, obviously. You don't gotta humble me. The world will humble me on its own, man. Okay, all the classes are listed, but as for someone who asks how to identify negative or positive environment is as simple as looking at this part right here. Total gamma or total like dollar figure. If it's positive, it's in a positive environment. If it's negative, we're in a negative environment. Obviously, within a positive environment, liquidity is higher, volatility is lower. Within a negative environment, liquidity is lower, volatility is higher. With that being said, guys, I think I'm gonna end it here. We've been on for over an hour today. I hope you enjoyed the class. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you guys sent out a tweet. You don't have to, but if you guys could, send out a tweet, tag Trader Link, Apex, tag Sheen Trades, say you enjoyed the class. I'd love to be able to get more people to join. You know, we've consistently hit about like 20 to 30 people. But I'd love to see more because I want to be able to change people's view, how they view the market. This stuff works. And once you look at it, there's no other way to look at the market. So with that being said, thank you so much, Bree. It's greatly appreciated. Any bit of support is awesome. So with that being said, thank you guys. If you have the capacity to send out a tweet and tag us, I'd greatly appreciate it. If not, no worries. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. And I will chat with you guys in the morning tomorrow. And as always, keep moving forward. Everyone have a great rest of your guys' night.